I found that beige envelope nailed to my gate on a Sunday morning, and by the time I finished reading it, my entire family legacy was gone. 2,500 acres of farmland that had belonged to my bloodline for 6 generations, signed away, stamped by the county, and sold to a developer. The signature at the bottom, Evelyn Price, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA. She didn't just take my land, she stole my name out of the soil. I'm not some quiet country recluse. My name's Thomas Reed. I'm a forensic accountant. My job is to find fraud buried under polite paperwork, to dig through numbers until corruption bleeds out through the fine print. But I never imagined I'd be doing that for my own life. That envelope wasn't a mistake. It was a declaration of war. Willowbrook Estates sat right next to my property. 150 manicured houses, identical fences, lawns clipped to regulation height. A picture-perfect cage of conformity. And at the top of that little beige kingdom was Evelyn Price, HOA president. Self-proclaimed guardian of community values. She was the kind of woman who used rules like bullets. I first met her when she left a notice taped to my fence claiming my 100-year-old barn violated community aesthetics. Then came citations for unapproved vegetation, her words for trees, and even a fine for the color of my gate. She never smiled, just tilted her head like she pitied me for not knowing how to live under her control. I thought she was a nuisance until that envelope. Inside was a legal document stating that my entire property had been declared abandoned, annexed by Willowbrook HOA, and sold to Stonebridge Developments, the same company that built that neighborhood. The county seal, signatures, payment receipts, all official, all real. My family's land had been stolen through a fake annexation claim. It took me a full minute to breathe again. The edges of the paper cut into my hand because I was gripping it so hard. I called Evelyn that night. She picked up on the second ring, her voice sweet and poisonous. "Mr. Reed," she said, "we received your little message. The county's decision is final. That land was a fire hazard, an eyesore. We're cleaning it up for the good of the community." "The good of the community doesn't let you steal private property," I said flatly. She sighed like I was a child. "Look, Thomas, Stonebridge has authorized me to offer you $50,000 to just walk away quietly. $50,000 for land worth $40 million on a bad day." "That's not an offer," I said. "That's evidence of intent. You just admitted you know it's mine." The sweetness dropped out of her voice. "You're making a big mistake. You have no idea who you're dealing with. We'll bury you in legal fees. You'll lose everything." "No, Evelyn," I said, smiling though she couldn't see me. "You will." That was the moment my rage turned into focus. They thought they could bury me in paper. They forgot paper is where I live. I spent the next 48 hours in my city office, surrounded by coffee cups and glowing screens. I dug through county records, development filings, HOA charters, tax ledgers, zoning maps from 1880 to now. The Miller homestead, my land, had never once changed ownership. The HOA had fabricated every claim. It wasn't negligence or confusion. It was organized theft. Evelyn and her husband Mark, the HOA treasurer, had orchestrated the entire fraud with Stonebridge. The deeper I dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't a petty HOA. It was a small-scale crime syndicate wrapped in beige siding. But I couldn't just accuse them. I needed proof and leverage. That's when I found Arthur Pennington. He was a retired engineer, one of the original HOA board members who had resigned years ago. When I knocked on his door, he opened it slowly and said, "You must be the guy from the old Reed farm. I told them they were idiots to mess with you." Inside his condo, I told him everything: the fake annexation, the sale, the call. He listened, nodding grimly. "Evelyn runs that place like a dictatorship," he said. "Mark signs whatever she wants. I quit after she tried to regulate what shade of white our window frames could be." I leaned forward. "Arthur, I need to see their financials. There's something rotten in there. I can feel it." He smiled, tired, but sharp. "There's one way. I still have the right to inspect records from when I was on the board. If we ask for something old, something procedural, she might not block it. I know exactly what to request: the reserve study. It's supposed to detail every dollar of their maintenance fund." 3 weeks later, we walked into the HOA lawyer's office. The paralegal guarding us looked like a nightclub bouncer, arms crossed, eyes suspicious. He dropped a binder on the table. "No copies, no photos. You've got 3 hours." Arthur played the part of a half-blind old man, squinting and muttering as he flipped through pages. I sat beside him, quiet, scanning fast. And then I saw it. Payments to a landscaping company registered under Evelyn's maiden name. Legal fees triple the HOA's annual budget. And there, at the back, a single wire transfer slip, $1 million. From Stonebridge to Willowbrook HOA, dated 1 week before my land was annexed. Memo line, Phase 2, Land Acquisition Deposit. I slipped my phone under the table, angled the camera, and snapped a photo. Perfect clarity. That was the smoking gun. That night, staring at the photo glowing on my screen, I felt something I hadn't in weeks: control. I compiled everything into a forensic report: financial analysis, tax records, historic surveys, proof of continuous ownership, the fake annexation, the wire transfer, 100 pages of precision, ending with a single conclusion: conspiracy, wire fraud, and theft of property. I sent copies to the district attorney, the state attorney general, and the FBI. Still, I knew the justice system moves slower than guilt. Evelyn could stall it for years, hide behind lawyers, maybe even walk away rich. That's when the darker idea took root, a plan so absurdly legal it bordered on poetic. While reviewing the HOA's founding documents, I found an old clause about a master development loan, a multi-million-dollar debt Stonebridge had taken out to build Willowbrook. Each home sale was supposed to clear a small portion of that debt from the property title. I wondered, had they actually cleared it? I hired a title research firm to check every one of the 150 homes in that neighborhood. 3 weeks later, the report landed in my inbox, and I nearly laughed. 90% of the homes still carried an ancient lien from that original master loan. The paperwork was never filed to release them. It was like a ghost chain still wrapped around every beige McMansion on that street. And the best part? That loan had been sold, repackaged, forgotten until now. My broker tracked it down to a hedge fund in Delaware. To them, it was worthless debt. I bought it for $300,000, pennies compared to the land they stole. I became, quite literally, their bank. I spent a night thinking about it, pacing in my office, staring out at the city lights. Was I going too far? I wasn't just fighting back now. I was about to pull hundreds of families into chaos. I thought about my parents, their warning: never let the concrete win. For a moment, I almost gave in to doubt. Maybe I should just let the courts handle it. Maybe revenge wasn't justice. But then I saw that beige envelope still pinned to my corkboard. I remembered Evelyn's smirk when she said she'd bury me. That was when the hesitation died. Justice needed teeth. I drafted a letter. Polite, precise, devastating. It explained that due to gross financial mismanagement under Evelyn and Mark Price, the HOA had defaulted on their master loan covenants. As the new holder of that debt, my company was calling the loan due. Each homeowner now owed $50,000, payable within 30 days, or face foreclosure. I mailed one to every house in Willowbrook Estates. The fallout was immediate. My ally Arthur monitored their private community page. Panic exploded. At first, they thought it was a scam. Then a real estate attorney living on Elm Circle confirmed the lien existed. Within hours, posts flooded in, confusion, anger, fear. Evelyn tried to calm them down, calling me a disgruntled conspiracy theorist. It only made things worse. Then, 3 days later, the FBI showed up, black sedans, agents in windbreakers, at her home and the HOA office. Neighbors filmed as they carried out boxes of documents, computers, even her husband in handcuffs. The HOA queen, dragged out on her own front lawn. That was the turning point. The entire neighborhood turned on her overnight. They held an emergency meeting on the manicured lawn she once bragged about. And, this time, she didn't control the microphone. Dozens of homeowners shouted her down, demanding answers. When she tried to speak about community spirit, her voice cracked from the back. Arthur stood and started a slow, sarcastic clap. No one stopped him. The board collapsed within the hour. The new interim committee begged for negotiations. Through my lawyer, I laid out my terms, 5 of them. First, Willowbrook HOA would repurchase my land from Stonebridge at current market value and deed it back to me. Second, they'd fund full restoration of any damage and plant a 100-foot buffer of native trees between our properties. Third, they'd issue a public apology for the fraudulent annexation. Fourth, they'd cover every cent of my legal costs. And fifth, the $50,000 liens on their homes could be forgiven, but only if each household signed a sworn statement detailing every unethical act they'd witnessed from Evelyn and Mark. They agreed to all of it. They didn't have a choice. In the following month, my lawyer's office filled with envelopes, signed affidavits from homeowners telling stories of bribery, intimidation, embezzlement, and pettiness so absurd it almost read like comedy. For every one that came in, I signed a lien release. Those who stayed loyal to Evelyn refused and watched their homes slip into foreclosure. Even then, I didn't gloat. I didn't have to. Their own system was devouring them. Eventually, the deed to my farm returned to my hands, the same soil, the same trees, untouched by concrete. Evelyn and Mark took plea deals. She served 3 years in federal prison. He lost his license and everything else. The HOA paid millions in restitution, and the neighborhood they'd once ruled became strangely peaceful. No more beige envelopes, no more threats, just quiet. Sometimes I drive past Willowbrook. The lawns aren't perfect anymore. Some wildflowers have started to grow through the fences. I like it that way. I stop by the gate, look at the new trees rising along the border, and breathe. Justice doesn't always wear a badge or a robe. Sometimes it wears work boots and a smirk. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. When power hides behind rules, the only real weapon is knowing those rules better than they do.